Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Entrepreneur Life. I'm Andrew Lees. I'm normally joined by my co-host, Clint McPherson, but today I'll be flying solo. Got a very special guest on the show today who's helped to build a multi-million-dollar software company. He's got a lot of great marketing insight that anyone can implement in their business right away, so you're definitely going to want to stick around to hear what he has to say. Before I introduce our special guest today, I want to remind you to subscribe to our podcast and to our mailing list, to our website, that you don't miss out on all of the free resources we have to help you start and grow your business. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our special guest, Daniel Stanszus, to the show. What's up, man? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Andrew, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to join you on today's episode.
Awesome. Yeah, really, it's an honor to have you on the show today. And let's get right into it. So awesome. Can you take us back to when your entrepreneurial journey started, and what is it about entrepreneurship that really gets you fired up?
Yeah. So actually it started round one when I had no idea what I was doing. And that was when I finished my training in my teen years over here in Germany. It's a bit different. We do have college, but we also do like on-the-job training. I trained in a bank, noticed that's not what I wanted to do. So I became like a financial advisor. That was my first entrepreneurial journey. Had no clue what I was doing. And eventually my wife said, hey, get a real job. So that was my first rodeo. Didn't work so good. Learned a lot, especially what not to do. So that was round number one. Round number two was that, I still had that entrepreneurial passion, got it from my dad, probably, and or from God or from both. So I had that passion to do that eventually, but was in an amazing company for 10 years. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit. We'll see. But so I was in this big corporation, had a lot of success there. But again, after 10 years doing amazing things, I just knew, hey, I want to get back and build my own business. And even though it wasn't the logical thing to do, to be honest, I just knew it was the right thing to do. So I just went for it. And knowing that I'd regret not taking that step, it was a no-brainer. And thankfully, my wife was okay with it. So I went ahead and did it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's super important to have that support system there, to really encourage you to take that leap of faith. And it is a leap of faith when you already have something established, right? You've already got a, So 100%. What was that, job that you were kind of walking away from, and it sounded like it was pretty successful. So it doesn't sound like an automatic no-brainer to just have walked away from that.
Not at all. Actually, the exact opposite. Everybody that knew the job I was in and actually the success I was having, and I was on my path to become the CEO of that company, a multi-million software company. We were having amazing success. So it was pretty much even written on paper, or pretty much set in the stars, that I will become the CEO of this company eventually when they step back. And it was just pretty much to stick around, do my job, and still lead the marketing department I was in at that time as a manager. So that's where I was, and that was the situation I was in. So it was a software company. I started as a sales manager, eventually went over to, I switched over to marketing manager, and saw the things I was learning and helping this company I was in as a manager to help gain revenue, create amazing offers, etc. But starting to learn all these things, I saw so many companies around me, that friends and companies, or like other friends that were entrepreneurs, business owners, and I saw that so many were struggling to get the message out. They had amazing product, they had amazing service, but that was pretty much all. That was it. So they were kind of stuck to really scale, get more, eyes on what they have to offer. And that's when I just knew, okay, that's my next step. That's what I want to do. And that's the kind of people I want to help that aren't already like, I don't know, making millions every year, that are still under maybe that threshold. So that's kind of where everything started. And then from knowing that that's the road I want to take, I talked to my wife, like, hey, I think that's what I should do. I want to do. And even though, as I said, the situation I was in that company, it was definitely not a situation that you wanted to leave. It was an amazing company, award-winning company, even had books written about us, the things that we had accomplished. So it was actually a very good situation to be in. But as you know, I mean, if it's not what's not in God's will, or we're just not at the right time, you just know it's still not the right place, even though it might look good from the outside.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you identify a need in the market that you want to address, I mean, first of all, if you're trying to help people get to a higher level in business, which is amazing. I mean, you know, we're also kind of on that same mission with that entrepreneur life. We're really trying to help people at any level, whether even if you just have a business idea, but you're not really sure if you're going to start, when you're going to start, how you're going to start. We're trying to help people through that entire journey. And so I understand that calling to really want to be able to help people, educate them about what you know about and what you know can be successful. And it's, you know, everybody finds their own success in different ways. So it's not just this cookie cutter thing that you do this one thing for everybody and it works all the time. And so that's why it's so cool to get these different perspectives from experts like yourself. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your 4x4 offer creation formula. Yeah. And that's designed to create high converting offers. Yeah. Which is real. I'm really excited to learn more about this myself. There's, anything tactical and anything you can apply to your business. I'm really excited about. So can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I'd love to. So how I actually first got into the first pieces of this framework was back at my corporate job. This full framework was not established yet, but I had learned first bits and pieces from great people like Jay Abraham, some things from Russell Brunson, other materials out there. And I started applying them step by step in this corporate job. So this corporate job, we were usually selling very, very high ticket consulting and software solutions. So we were selling to big corporations like Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, some smaller companies also, maybe with like only 100 employees or so, but mainly like high ticket consulting, often six-figure deals. And that's what we were always focusing on. But of course, the decision-making for those type of offers are just a longer process. You have stakeholders and it can take forever. So that's what we were always doing up until then. And then I just started thinking about other ways how we can establish offers that create cash flow, that are low cost, but high revenue and highly automated. Nothing we have ever done before. But I knew there was a need in the market. I saw that was back in I don't even know, 2018, 2019. I don't even remember. Anyways, so there was I saw a big need in the market that we were already serving, but we were not fulfilling at the moment. But I knew that we could kind of give the solution, a very good quality solution at a low cost. So we started creating this, and it was funny because actually in that situation, financially, our company was at a very bad, we had a very, very bad quarter because we were a very high ticket. As I said, the decision-making process was very long.
It's feast or famine, right? I mean, when you have high ticket,
if you just don't have 10 big clients say yes at the same time, they will say yes probably. But if they all don't say yes at the same time, pretty much like they all want to tease us. So that just really hurts you because you still pay people every month, of course. And we were around 90, 95 employees. So that was a bad quarter. So that's when we were like, okay, let's do this other thing I was wanting to establish and start trying out. And people, employees, other people like, nah, that's never going to work. We never did something like that. Our type of client does not like that type of stuff. And we had bets going on inside the company. Like, we're not going to get, I think it was 100. We said, the guy said, you're not even going to sell 100 of this offer to our clients or leads.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the bet going on.
That's funny.
So I got my team, we got everything ready. We created the marketing material, sent out first teaser email, announced the launch of it, and then had the sales page ready, everything done. And that was also something very new, that people could order online, because high ticket, usually you have like a contract and paper and they send it back with written invoice or a fax or whatever. So this was also like new, like they could actually order right on a page and say, yeah, I will buy it. I know for like low ticket, it's normal, but for that high ticket type of client, it actually is not a normal thing to do, but we like do it anyway.
Yeah. So typically, right. Anything over a few $100s is not something that people buy online. You know, for a company, it could be thousands of dollars that they're willing to buy online, but anything over that, you're talking to somebody. There's, like you said, there's a long sales cycle. I'm used to that. I do product development engineering, so
exactly.
Most of my projects are 5-figure, projects, but it takes a while, and I mean, it could take months. It could take up 6 to 12 months sometimes to close a sale.
Exactly.
So it's,
and they're not going to go like pay with credit card. Like, I buy it.
Exactly. Like, here, deposit on. Yeah. They want to talk to me first. I'm sending them an invoice, and it's more, it's a little bit more of like an old school analog kind of process.
Very true. Very true. So therefore, because we're like, they're not going to do this. And the way we structured the offer, like with offer stack and different things, I'll go more into depth of the structure. So we launched it. We pushed out the first reminder email. And after 3 days, we already had cracked the 100 mark, whatever. We had bets going on. And then, of course, we did the price bump after 2 weeks. And of course, at the end of the deadline, we had another flood of about another 100 people buying. This was not a low ticket offer. It was like 2 or 3K. So it was decent money. And in that situation, it was a lifesaver, but it helped us. So that was like my first experience. Like, oh crap, this works. This is amazing. I mean, first of all, yes, people will even buy for that price online. Number two, all these way of packaging and et cetera, it works. And the CEOs were just smiling like, oh, this is so awesome. We're going to do this again. So, and we did do it again. The end of the year, it worked amazing. So that was kind of the first, like the beginning of my journey, figuring out, architecting and creating a framework to create just offers that just pretty much always work. If there's a problem, if there's a need and you have a solution in package in this kind of a way, it's pretty much always going to work. So let's go through it's 4x4 offer framework. So let's go through the 4 pillars that I always like to put in. And of course, we won't be able to go through all 4 and sub pillars because then we'll be here for another 4 hours. But I'll give you good examples of the 4 core principles. And the first principle is, of course, positioning and packaging. And let's get real specific though. So you always have your main product, your main service that you always, of course, have that you probably already have, the clients, your listeners already have. So there's always something you're starting out with, but there's always different elements that you want to be adding. And a lot of people just start like adding different stuff. I'll just say as long as you like 10 items, and that's stupid. So you want to add things in a very strategical way. And just to give a few very easy examples is, number one, look at different reasons why people up till now just said no or were concerned that your product or service would not work. So typical like objections or reasons why people wouldn't buy right now. And figure out ways what you can maybe add into your product, add into your service that will help overcome these objections. This could be maybe a template. This could be maybe another use case video or something else that will just help them overcome that objection. Another thing for packaging, always put in, and it's so easy to do, is always put in some type of IP, intellectual property, something where it's your framework, where it's your method, where it's unique, that if somebody Googles it, like if you Google 4x4 offer creation framework, you'll find content I put out, maybe Instagram, Facebook posts or whatever, maybe first people copying it, I don't know. But it's originally by me, and you would have never found anything before I created and started maybe posting about it.
Sure.
That's kind of the situation you want to create. Even if you, yes, got information from person A and B and Z, and of course, it's always good to give them credit, but in the end, it is still your puzzle piece you put together and that you kind of created. And that is now
your
unique.
System.
Yes. So creating that own system, that own framework, giving it a name, and therefore being positioned in that way is one of the first very, very important steps. And maybe a last like pro tip or good thing to think about with the packaging side is also to put in elements that already take care of the follow-up problem. So what do I mean with that? Every solution you offer, everything that you products and service that you provide creates a new problem, a new challenge. Let's say, for instance, you have some method that brings them a bunch of leads. Awesome. That's great to have all these leads, but the next problem is, well, how do I convert them? Or maybe the next problem is, well, how do I fulfill all these people that I get sales? So you always have a follow-up problem in almost every situation. Even if you sell a home, the follow-up problem is maybe how to, I don't know, move in or get familiar with the surrounding or whatever. So
yeah, sure.
I always like to take the example actually of a Airbnb home or VRBO home or whatever. Very competitive, very commodity based, very price feature based. But that's exactly what they can do. Right now, it's maybe a bit harder because not so many people are traveling, but like thinking of, okay, what is the follow-up problem? Well, the follow-up problem is, well, when I get into that new surrounding, what can I do? What are the best activities to do? So what can you do to package in a way where that separates yourself as well? Here's this home, plus you have this amazing list of all the best activities listed by weekday. So you know exactly what's the best things to do on a Monday, on a Saturday. And hey, here's maybe even some coupons that will get you a better deal for this restaurant or for whatever. And you maybe even get a kickback or whatever. So
sure. Yeah. And then you open up different opportunities for new revenue streams, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's like the first pillar. A lot of different things, of course, where you can go in that route. But the first thing is mainly just packaging and positioning the way what you put in, what elements you're adding. So to summarize, number one, finding out the things, the objections, and finding packaging that will kind of knock these over. Number two, positioning it with intellectual property. Number three, just finding ways to also think about maybe the follow-up problem and also dealing with that. Plus, that will also give confidence, maybe not so much with the rental home, but with other things. If you are taking care of the follow-up problem, it builds confidence that the first thing you're promising is going to be finished, because they're like, whoa, you're already dealing with the next situation. Well, then that first one is like a no-brainer to that's going to actually take place. So that's actually going to be happening. Like
they can see the progression and where you're going with it and how you can help them through to the end of, their entire problem set.
Yes, exactly. So that's the first pillar of the 4x4 offer creation framework. The second one is now where we have these elements. And now we want to maximize the value of all these elements so they know how valuable they are. And there's different ways to do this. Of course, in the digital space, you'll have like typical like mock-ups and stuff. That's the easiest no-brainer way to do it. But there's other ways that I love using, that is by comparison. So let me see. So I just had an offer. It was actually an affiliate offer I did a few weeks ago. And I put in inside of the offer, I was like, hey, I'll be able to create sales videos. Okay. And I had the backstory where like, hey, I was a professional sales manager. I actually pitched Mercedes-Benz successfully. So I have a background, and we're like, look over here, you can have a sales video created on Upwork. They ask for $1,500 for you, for them to create a sales video that's only 1 minute. That only is for 1 minute. And here I'm going to create a sales video that is going to be at least 5 or 6 minutes. And that's the ways how you can kind of bridge over the value. And therefore I can easily say, well, it's at least value of I don't know, $1,000 or $2,000 if I create something like that.
Yeah.
So to have that comparison with Upwork or my background. So, comparison is a very easy way to kind of link the value of that piece or the price that you actually maybe even had to pay. So if it's something that you actually paid to do, so I know a lot of people like to say, hey, you get this funnel template or this XYZ, and I actually paid XYZ for it. Well, that's the value of it because that's the actual price you paid for it. And a lot of people, they actually like to find not the cheapest, but often the most expensive people to do that they actually can maybe show the invoice or whatever, and therefore raise the value of that piece that they're putting inside of the offer. So presenting your actual cost and time that you had for that is one of the ways. Or adding story, like just the story behind how it was created, and just behind the scenes of that piece is also something that just creates value instead of just saying this is it, but just kind of giving you the reason why it's so important, what it has done for you, how it has helped you. So just more like the story around it. That is also a very easy way to increase the value of that piece. So that's number
and people
2.
connect with stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't want to throw you off course here, but what do you think about, as you're talking about this, I'm imagining I'm not imagining that this is exactly what you do, but I'm imagining like long form sales lead pages, like landing pages. And I just had to ask, what's your take on that? When, those sales pages where you scroll through for like 10 minutes and it's just nonsense. And it's like, it won't ever end. It doesn't ever end. I'm like, I get, you see that all the time. And I'm like, does this actually work? Or for me, I don't need that much information or, or is it just, you need a lot of people, it's a very, very good question. And often for a lot of people, it's overkill. It really depends on so it always depends on what type of person is coming on that page and how much do they actually need to know to take that next step. And your page is just to bridge that next step. So if it's just to opt in to a webinar, or opt into, I don't know, a sales video or whatever, then often all you need is a great headline that creates curiosity. I know Frank Kern is doing that lately. All he's doing is like a white page with a headline, maybe a subtle headline, a button, that's it. Nothing else, not even a picture. And he's saying that's converting best compared to, as you're saying, a lot of people having these long things. Yeah. But now, of course, that is for like something free, that is for giving information. Now in a sales process where the next step is to actually take out your wallet and pay for something, even if it's only $7, again, where they're coming in, what they already know, probably, what do they need to know to definitely make that purchase. And depending on how big that gap is, that's how long the page needs to be. So if you're running ads to cold traffic, where there are a lot of information that you need to know. You need to build credibility, who you are, what you've done. You need to establish what you're selling is actually working. You need to establish that it works for others, like testimonials, then the offer. And then, so again, it depends on who you're targeting, how big is the gap, and therefore that's the amount of information you will probably need to provide on that sales page. So usually when you see those long pages, that means they're actually attracting cold traffic, people that never heard of them. And a lot of information needs to go in there for them to actually, at the bottom, they were like, okay, now I got it. Bye. Right.
But also, of course, very important. And that's why you always have these call to action buttons in between. Strategically after the first curiosity, then after another section that's emotional, then after the next session that's often logical, like what you're going to get and all these. You always have this next, like, okay, now I'm in. But some people need all steps until they're in. Some only need the first, and then you click on it and then you can go purchase, or it scrolls all the way down depending on the structure of the page. But a lot of people are sold on different reasons. And again, that's also, to answer your question, that's why they're so long, because some just need the headline and they're like, okay, that's what I need, I'm in. They're like impulse buyers.
Yeah.
Some buy just on the emotional side of what you're promising them. So that's usually what people start with. Some people buy on logic. Therefore, you need more like testimonials and facts and numbers. And the last 25% or so, they buy because of just needing a reason to act now. And actually, that's a part of the framework that we're talking about. Is to give them a reason to urgency, act now, where you're like, hey, if you do not get this or act now, either you're going to miss out on something that I would give you, or this is where you will end probably because you're not improving whatever you're offering. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah. So I'm sorry, you were talking about the third. The third is actually
my one of my favorite. And it's the most overlooked, but almost the easiest. When you have first pillar and the second pillar, that means you have a great packaging, you have a cool offer, and now also maximize the value. But you always, no matter how good the offer is, you always have this one thing that is always still pulling them away from saying yes. And that is the thought, okay, what if it does not work? It is always the risk of, if I invest in it, don't get a return of invest, or if I've invested, it just does not work for me, or I made the wrong decision. So it's always this risk involved that is like pulling them back, or is building this barrier to take that step. So step number 3 is to build a bold risk reversal. And with bold, I'm not talking about a 30 days money back guarantee, because that is something that you've probably noticed this, but if you see a lot of things like all the time, usually it's almost like you start to ignore it, or you don't even realize that it's there. So the typical 30 days money back guarantee, because almost everybody's doing it, it does not really provide value or pull you in any direction. It's like you could pretty much leave it.
Take it for granted.
Yeah. So one of the things I always love doing is thinking about a bold risk reversal and kind of crafting something where you completely take, as good as possible, take the risk and actually use it as something that pulls them into the buying direction. I'll give you an example. So one of the best ways to do this is to think of a minimal type of guarantee that you can give in your product or service and tie it in as a minimal guaranteed results, or XYZ. I'll give you a few examples for that. But so let's say I heard a lot of online tutors are doing a lot of money right now. So they could be saying something like, hey, if I don't improve your grade at least by 1 on the next report card, then you get your money back. So that means I'm guaranteeing this result of improving your grade by 1, or you don't pay anything. So I only pay for results. A few companies, but one of the most popular examples, a company that got very successful doing something like this, is Domino Pizza. And Domino Pizza, what did they say? And that actually, their risk reversal became their USP, their slogan. And that was, hey, if you order pizza and it is not, if you order from us, and if your fresh hot pizza is not delivered under 30 minutes, it's free. So what do? They build all this guarantee in there. It's going to be there fast. And by the way, those are also those objections that we talked about. What is your typical objection when you order pizza? Well, number 1, it's going to take forever. It's not going to be fresh. It's not going to be hot. Like all these things. They took exactly these things, built them in a minimal guarantee, and actually put it into a risk reversal where they're like, hey, if it's not fresh, if it's not hot, and if it's not there in 30 minutes, you don't pay for it. So it's a no-brainer. You have nothing to lose.
Exactly. Yeah.
And thinking of ways to do that is one of the easiest ways to increase business and just to increase conversions like crazy. Now, a little disclaimer is very important. First, look at your current refunds, your current quality. So if you currently already have so quality without a bold risk reversal, you're just going to maximize that. So first, if that's the case, fix the quality of your product or service.
Right. That should be the first thing anyway, right?
That's solid, where you're like, no, I know I'm good. I know I'll get these results. Get that settled first. And then, and if you know that you're going to get the results that you claim, then just top it off with a bold risk reversal. Think about the minimal guarantee that you will be able to provide, and you'll always find a way. I know there are some businesses where it's harder, but there are ways to create like a measurable way to find out like that minimal guarantee. And build that into a risk reversal. That's one of the ways, but it's one of the most bold and powerful ways to do that. Okay. And it doesn't always have to be money back. And there's industries you can't do money back. It's just impossible. Like you were talking about construction. You can't buy back the home as a realtor. That I don't think so. So
right. You've got to set a realistic. Yeah. Some realistic expectation. Like if you're selling an info product. So if you're trying to, like, for you're trying to help people get to the next level, getting to the next level and helping them specifically with their marketing. What do you typically use for a risk reversal?
Yep.
If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my risk reversal is where I guarantee, again, I guarantee ROI. So if they invest 5, 10K, whatever, into my product or service, then I guarantee a minimal of that ROI back in, depending on the package, 6 months or 3 months. And if we do not hit that ROI, so if they don't get back that amount in revenue, then I'm going to work for free until we hit that. Or if for whatever reason that does not make sense, which I never had to do it, but if that's the case, then I'll just pay you the difference. So if like they invested 10K and we only made 8, then I'll just pay them back to you or whatever. But that's never been the case. But stuff like that, where like it's a no-brainer, you'll never lose money with me. And I always say like, hey, my goal is actually to always 10x your investment. That's like always my goal. Like, you invest 10, I want to make 100. That's my goal, but I'll guarantee you always make back your investment, or I won't until you do. So that's what I do.
That's cool.
But others will, or you can even add on and say like, hey, I will work for additional, and you'll get XYZ even on top. Like you'll get this training course with a value of 3K or whatever. I don't know. So adding on other things, if possible, that don't cost you much, but are valuable to give them to them as a bonus or as an extra, like a 110% type of guarantee. So for an industry that will be like, hey, I can't really do that. I can't really give them money, or I can't really extend my service. Like a realtor, the person that's saying, hey, this house is definitely not what I expected. I'm sorry. So what would a realtor do? Well, he could say like, if you're not happy, let's say maybe definitely do a time frame, like, and in the first 3 months, you decide this is not the right home for you, where you want to build family, whatever, then I will sell that house for free for you. I will also get a new contract for you, also without commission. Plus, I will pay the moving fee, and I'll give you $2,000 for moving from house A to B. So this is you return the risk of them taking care of their current home, getting a new one, plus moving. That's like the main risk that's involved, or effort, or whatever, and you took care of it. So that's the way of kind of thinking about the different side effects, negative effects, and kind of thinking through how can we take care of them, and using that, turning that around into a bold risk reversal. Now, something very important I hear a lot, or often people are like, well, if people hear me give a bold risk reversal, they might think I'm only doing that because I have crappy service. Like they might think it's
it can kind of potentially
it's like
work
an excuse. I
detriment.
need that because my quality isn't good enough to sell the client or whatever. And that always comes down to and depends on how you frame your bold risk reversal. That is that it totally depends on how you frame it, how you introduce it, or write it down if it's copy. So if it sounds like needy in a way where like, hey, if it doesn't work out, then hey, at least you'll get blah, blah, blah back. So of course it has to be more like, wait, because I know I'm so good and because I know that I'm going to get results, I can actually give you this type of guarantee. Nobody else is going to give you. So it has to be more in that frame.
It's got to be a little more confident. Yeah. You've got to be confident. You got to frame it in a way that it portrays confidence about your service and not like, like you said, if it doesn't work out, I'll just give you your money back or we'll just, cause that wouldn't be a good way to spin that. And then people are kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to waste my time. Even if I get my money back, do I even want to waste my time?
Exactly. So it is very important, even if you have a bold risk reversal, it has to be framed and positioned in the right way where it's adding to the confidence of your confidence and to your quality. So that's number 3. Okay. Number 4, we already talked about really shortly. And that is just giving them a reason to act now. So even if you have a great offer with great packaging and intellectual property, if you have increased the value, if you took care of the risk, people are just in the habit of not moving or not doing.
Oh yeah.
They're in the habit of saying tomorrow. That's just so many people are in that habit. Yes, that might mean the pain is not high enough, but even then people are just, there's so many lazy people out there that should get their act together and should move forward. And they just need a reason to take that next step.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why step number 4 is always thinking about putting in either elements or reasons in your copy, depending on how the offer is presented and how the selling is happening or the closing, but finding ways to give them that less push of fear of missing out, urgency, scarcity. So it could be the typical things like, hey, if we have a launch, of course, after 2 weeks, price goes up or it's not available anymore. That's like the typical ones, but that's not possible. Like depending on the type of business and industry, that's not something you can do. So one of the easiest things to do, anybody can do and should do, is always what will happen if you don't get the solution, the problem gets worse? What is kind of the road you're heading down towards? What's kind of the dead end road that you're going towards, and kind of portraying that picture and saying like, hey, okay, if just that, if you don't take this offer now and you keep on doing this, this is probably what we've seen, where
you're
life
headed
or business or whatever will look like.
Sure.
And we do not want that to happen to you. We want to help you. And this is why it's beneficial to you, blah, blah, blah. So, but kind of portraying that picture, because often they don't think about it. They don't even think that they're so short-sighted. So kind of giving them the picture of what might happen or would happen or could happen if they do not take action, then that is something that any business can do and should do. And if you are able to build in like elements or time or some other things to add on to that fear of missing out, perfect, you can do that. But anybody can add in the description of portraying a kind of like what could happen if they just don't change or don't improve, or depending, of course, of industry and product. But that's something that always should be in there.
Yeah, I really like that. Painting that path of where they could be headed if they don't work with you. And I think you do have to do it kind of delicately, because you're not trying to be like, doom and gloom, really like, oh, if you don't work with me, you're an idiot kind of thing. Because that's not it, right? Like,
no. And again, in a caring way.
Yeah.
But just in a way where like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, this is what we've already seen.
Exactly.
Like I had, well, one client this worked really well with, property management. And all they had to do is like worst case scenarios of clients, but before they were clients, what happened because they managed it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And just like horror scenarios that happen, like different things that could not happen if they manage it because they know what they are doing. So all they did have like 3 different real use case scenarios that happen because people just don't know what they're doing and how to manage the property correctly and professionally. And all they have to do, like, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, but we don't want this to happen. So, hey, just work with us. So kind of like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Instead of spinning your wheels, instead of wasting money. And we've seen that happen. This is what it is, kind of take or leave. We're here. We want to help. And that's kind of it. And then as long as you're not, pushy about it, I think a lot of people respect that and they see, okay, well, I could go with them. I could get some results, or I could try and cut corners over here, and it might not work out. So, and then a lot of times they'll if they do decide not to work with you, they're likely to be back in the future, right? Because they try that thing. They end up, especially if anyone ends up in that spot that you predicted, then it's like game over. Then they're like sitting there stuck, like, oh man, this is what he said this would happen.
Exactly.
I trust it. Then that gives you even more validity, and that gives 100%. You more trust.
If you paint that picture, and paint a pretty clear picture, it's not like very broad, but pretty clear picture of what it could be like or what could happen, and that actually they're seeing that that's happening. Exactly. Who are they going to think of? They're going to think of you that wanted to save them from that situation, and they'll come back.
That's so cool. Yeah. I love that strategy. I think that's really powerful, really something that people can implement generally, into their business now, and can reach out to you to execute it too. Cause I know that you will help businesses execute that strategy, because it's not just a matter of like understanding that on the surface. It's a matter of really like, okay, what are the pieces that you need to put in place to actually, what are the landing pages? What's the copy that, how are you actually executing that strategy? So, and some people might be able, I'm sure, people can kind of like piece it together, try and figure it out, maybe get a little bit down the road, but then they can come back to you and say, hey, man,
absolutely. And that's why I love being as detailed as possible, that a lot of people will just be able to take like few ideas and aha moments from this and just improve. And that's awesome. I love doing that. And I'll get my blessings and return in some other ways. So, so that's why I love to be very detailed and helpful. And of course, if somebody wants more help, of course, I'm always also glad to help out on a more direct basis. But also what I love about the whole idea of creating a better offer is it's one of the only things where you don't increase costs at all. So it's one of those, I love to find in business these leverage points where you look at, you improve, you increase results, you increase conversions, you increase sales, but you did not increase time. You did not increase you did not increase cost. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're doing right now to get traffic, whatever you're doing now to get leads, nothing has to change. We only have to perfect the offer and business will grow. And that's that type of those leverage points I love to look at. And they're usually a no-brainer to look at first, because it's not like, it's a cool strategy, but I also have to spend, $10K on ads or whatever. So that's not the case.
Yeah. You can learn, you can scale it up. You can learn with a lower budget and then scale it from there. That's awesome.
Right. 100%. Exactly.
That's really cool. I love that. I know our listeners are going to love that. And it's been awesome talking to you, Daniel. As we wrap up this episode, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Always remember that you yourself is a person that they're buying from. So even if you have an amazing offer and product and service, people are buying from you as a person. So create the best version of you, and just how you show up, how you present yourself, either online or conversation, wherever they get in contact with you, because in the end, they buy from you as a person. So don't forget that and create the best version of yourself. And then the offer that we talked about is of course, step number 2, but create the best version of yourself.
That's awesome. I love that. It sets a great foundation for any business.
Yeah.
So Daniel, man, it was great to talk to you. We'll definitely have to have you back. I love talking strategy. Could talk about it all day long. That's cool. Yeah. So we'll have to do like a little mini masterclass too. We're starting to get into that kind of thing, so we can get even.
I love that stuff.
Do some more of this kind of strategy talk. People love that. Awesome. So yeah, I think that's a wrap for this episode, guys. Awesome. I want to thank you, Daniel, for taking the time to join me today. Awesome. Yeah, man. So it's been a real pleasure. Thank you all so much for listening to That Entrepreneur Life. And to learn more about what Daniel's working on, Daniel, where's the best place for people to go to check out what you have? Actually,
I think the best and easiest way is just to go on Facebook and contact me there on Facebook. My name is not the easiest. Maybe you'll link it below, but it's Facebook, Daniel.Stanszus. Stanszus with SZUS at the end. I'm most active there, and then just hit me up there. I'm very active there, and you'll just be able to reach out there. That's pretty much the easiest way. And from there, Perfect. Of course, I have my homepage and all that link, but pretty much Facebook is probably the best place to hit me up.
Perfect.
And if you don't have Facebook, of course, I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn and all those things, but Facebook is my main hub. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. It's a great place then for people to reach out to you. Yep. If you like what you heard today, everyone, please subscribe to our podcast, and don't forget to download our free ebook about the success mindset at That Entrepreneur Life. Thanks for continuing to support what we do as entrepreneurs, and don't forget to join us next week for another episode of That Entrepreneur Life.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.